I just met you. This is inappropriate intimacy. But the thing, all of that, no, it's thrown away. Its own grammar. Rasana, the campfires, people are lit, like we haven't.
Right.
Something very primordial, but it's also using it in this really novel way. Socrates is very critical. Of course, the problem with that, it's very intended. You're supposed to pay attention to that. That divide has been transcended, but it's also recorded with people moving between these conversations beyond that divide. It was something really new in how we can interact with each other.
It's a really interesting playground, kind of postmodern tendencies with trial by fire, everything goes, and also searching for the connective tissue. Right, very well said. That's briefly being embedded within it. It's been quite wonderful to watch the direct impact it's had on individual lives.
Yeah, yeah.
And at the bonfire, we can sit and play music,
Right.
and with this, people who have done such good work like yourself, put it into the medium, filtered down into the minds and the mouths of people, and then we gather in small groups
Oh, this is wonderful.
and recover gems, little moments. Aha, this is what I've been doing my life. This meta extractable point, people that I've come into contact with, take the content of this dialogue right here, one person out of 100, somehow extract that piece and transmit it across time. Right?
Oh,
There are ways some people are working.
And that's the what I was doing in this, and what reaping is this: the extraction of the meta extractable point, the hot clip, the sound bite from the thing, and
It's a fascinating way to level up finding insight.
yeah. That's a defining feature of Dialogos. We gain victory, get to places that we couldn't get to on our own. Wow, because of that, I got somewhere I couldn't have got on my own. And we don't even have to have the same insight. Within that conversation, we both come. I think that's the life breath.
but that's like so that's what reapers do.
Okay, so that's an example of reaping right there.
Yeah, and well, that's actually well loomed. So like you take the clips and you weave them together, and I call that like reaping and looming, because I don't know. It seems to me that well, I'm Grimm, so like an army of reapers is just thematic, and it seems like using a little internal dialogue for these sort of things is a bit like glue. For like, hey guys, everybody bring me the clips of the thing is one thing, but like when you say my reapers brought me the clip, that it turns it into something a little more. I don't mimetics, right?
Right. So okay, and so you have people out there that are sort of doing this for you when you ask for something. Like you'll say, "Hey, I'm looking for this" or something, and they'll kind of
go and find it. Yeah, let me show you. Paul's trying it, and it's like this is a way you can play, and it's an invite to do it. And sometimes people do it, and sometimes then they stop, and it's like they come and they go. I think we got like maybe 8 who may or may not at any point, or maybe I can never know who's going to start to play, or so sometimes they come out of left field or what have you. But I did make this special department on the Discord for it.
Okay.
Called the Reaper's Hall. I don't know how you want to go through the tour of the Discord.
Yeah.
I mean, I can work you down from the top, and then we'll get to this part, or I can go straight to this part.
Well, whatever you think is relevant to what I'm doing. Like where would I want to go if I wanted to find some material?
Well, when you first come on the Discord, you come in at the voice channels on the porch, which so everybody knows they're still kind of outside when they get here, and then you get assigned the denizen role, and once you start chatting and interact, and then once So you first get here, I try to make it so I give you the denizen role. All you can really see is the community grounds and other places you have access to, and like this stuff, the internal stuff, you have to like be assigned the roles that let you in. I say give it. I gave you the keys when I promote somebody into it.
Mm-hmm.
The general chat on most Discords or the general discussion I call the tavern to like set the theme, and people bring whatever into here. This is just conversations.
Mm-hmm.
Like ups with here. That's jumping ahead. And then okay, so there's the town. Then I have the town square, which is for if you make stuff and you want to share it with people, you put it in the town square. So like Gavin put his thing here, David Walker's Substack, this sort of thing. There's a similar section on the this is the Bridges of Meaning Discord. They got one for like promos and then promos, member and friends. It's a common area to have on a Discord. Then I also like if people just sharing memes, people sharing GIFs, just places to internet together. And then if you have any suggestions for the place, you can put them here. Then I made the logos one, which is where most of the branding and stuff I run comes from.
Okay.
Just if people make you things and you got to, and so I just start.
You're breaking up a
them.
little bit here.
No, sorry. But people start bringing you things as a way of playing, and so I'm happy to use them and create and encourage the play itself. This might be useful for you. It's a sort of a new thing. Its legs aren't quite under it yet, but it's a system where like if I have a clip request, I'll come in and say you get 3 +7s to your savings throw if you can find me a damn fine clip from the Johnny Pajot and Uber Boyo crossover. Because like we all see these things in the ocean of information, and like we remember they happened, but didn't realize we'd want that part, and then we come back later. And so, for the general denizens, like the scavenger bounty board is a way to start playing, and that will probably get them keys to the Reaper's Hall, which is where the people who are playing can play without flooding the regular conversations with stuff. These 2 rooms are attempts at specific targeted things, but now we're mainly doing them in threads. The clip stream is just if you saw something in the thing you're watching, reap the clip and bring it here, and we can start. We go through those, and I run those on the Reaper's Harvest show. The reaping room is where we talk about stuff, and so I came in here and I told them, let's see, as you may know, there's a documentary attempt ongoing. I just got out of your call. I need the clips for the thing, and so Ups brought this one.
Seeing the glory of God, you could see it that way, or seeing the radiance of the glory of God in the world. And so it's not just it's an age to come in when you talk about it in terms of, let's say, the cosmic story, but it's accessible to the mystics now, that age to come. Like we see that in the text where they talk about, that there are some saints that are already in the resurrection, that they already participate in the resurrected body. And so it's not just it doesn't just have a narrative function. It has an ontological reality, which we can participate in.
Now, that's a pretty big clip, but like you might find this part useful, portion of this next part useful.
That's how I interpreted the up and always up and in. It's Neoplatonic, which of course is why Jonathan likes it. And
why Lewis probably picked it up from.
Well, of course. I mean, what does he say in The Magician's Nephew? It's all in Plato. I don't know what they're teaching children these days.
See, like that little end bit right there, I think.
Yeah.
A collage of those would rock at some point. And and so then he brings in. So like this is me. I don't know how to I don't know how your processing process goes, but
Mhm.
this is the kind of stuff that came in
Yeah,
from
yeah,
from those guys, and I tried to thread it all into one
Mhm.
thing. Like here's Paul and Vervaeke when before we lost Mary, and
Mhm.
so I've basically tried to thread the submissions. I haven't updated it to give it to you yet at this point.
Sure.
But
No, that's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, what I'm doing basically is I just go in and I start watching what I have, and then basically it's just really long right now, like a big block of marble. And then now I'm just kind of like going through and going what kind of logically would go next or whatever, because I kind of have like the whole basically my little framework of how I kind of want to organize the pieces kind of clear in my mind, I think. And so now it's just a longer version of that. And so then I go in and I just try to see, okay, like what should go here. And so, I start with a little confessional material from the confession booth or something, and I see what subject that is. And then I go, okay, what should that kind of pair with? And then I kind of search around and see what I can, so I can make it into a little scene. And then once it's its own coherent scene, then I can decide sort of where on the timeline it should go. And so that's kind of how I'm doing it. I'm not necessarily just going systematically through. I'm kind of just using the timeline and kind of like thinking what should go here and what would logically go next. And for example, yesterday I found that there was several conversations about death that were from either the confession booth or from the filmed estuary that I did with Van Donk. And then I thought, if I make that into a little scene, then naturally what might go after that is where Paul does the eulogy for Mary, do
right.
kind of a little homage to her, And so then it's like, okay, now I'm going to go and I'm going to look for all that stuff using your this little corner.com or whatever. So if I, if I just have more avenues to kind of look for, and then it's like, okay, now I know I'm going to spend a couple of hours doing, I'm going to construct a little scene that's a little homage to Mary, and then I go, okay, that seems like that would fit here, but maybe that's a little too early, or maybe I'll move it around later, and so that's kind of how I'm doing it. I'm just kind of like, allowing it to be a process where something might naturally fit with something else, thematically. And then basically where I put it in the timeline is dependent on how much I think the audience already would know by that point, so like it obviously would have to be after the introduction of Paul and after the introduction of that fact that Paul has randos conversations. Then I can start getting into specific, let's say, moments within his randos conversations, and then if there's overlap between that and like the Chino estuary material that I have, then it can kind of go together, I think. So that's kind of how I'm doing,
Yeah, it's how you loom. Right. You have all these clips and you're doing your looming, and it's to an electromagnetic frequency of the and it's also sculpting, so that's kind of interesting. As far as like what here, let me run one more real quick, because it was kind of like the Lance brought us the cherry piece of what I thought of capturing the trio's growing bond, and it was the early one here where, like, all right, so a lot of this is discussion of, because Lance had never really reaped very often before. This is the instructional video Chad made for people on their phone. I'm not even showing you this, am I? Son of a bitch. This is the instructional video that Chad made for people that were doing it on iPhones. I'm not familiar, but Lance came up with this one and he gave it to me on the Dropbox. So I ran it through OBS so it was playable.
Okay. My parish is very small. We have maybe on a good Sunday.
And that's the whole bit. But I think really the most useful part will probably be come in here. I think it's one of the first real laughs, Paul, and
it's like, wow, you know,
As they were
in
shared
Africa
together.
especially, people are so spiritual. It's like it just takes up their whole life so much that me as a Westerner, like I get tired of it. Like I'm like, can you stop praying, please? Because I'm tired of it. And I have to slap myself and say, can you hear your thoughts right now? Like you're actually criticizing someone for being totally immersed in their faith and in their, and anyways. So that's my little Africa. That's kind of totally off the track there. That's my little Africa story.
But that's, I don't know, that
Yeah.
was the appeal for us, right? Was that it's like we're watching a buddy movie real time.
Yeah.
That's not been made into a movie. And we share and we get the mirror neurons of their laughter and stuff. And I think there's an angle to that. It might be end up being DVD extra material for the doc.
No, I think it's good because, you know, the more I work with this, the more I start to see the phenomenon that I think is interesting to document, which is that, you know, you could say on the one hand, there's all of these people are having these thoughts inside of their own heads in terms of meaning crisis and not belonging or something like that, you know, and then they get online and the algorithm points them to this or points them to that, and then they end up watching one of those three, John, Jonathan, or Paul, and then again through a bunch of circumstances, the three of them start to talk together, and then they start to change each other, and then watching how that change happens, you know, I mean, because since I've been going through so much of this over the past week or so, you can just watch Paul change over the years. He becomes more articulate. He becomes, you know, his camera gets better. You know, his hairstyles and beard styles change. You know, but also his grasp of symbolism really shoots up at one point. You know, it's like all of a sudden he's not just a Reformed pastor using Reformed theology language. He's incorporating everything that he's learning from Jonathan, you know, and
Vervaeke.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then I was going to say, and then from Vervaeke. And so you can see that change, but then you can also see it happening with Jonathan. You know, Jonathan changes over the years, you know, and you can also see it happening with John, you know. So you're right. It is it's like a buddy picture in a sense, but it's also, it's just watching, I think, watching these three people kind of grow in maturity in a way, or at least in communication skills, you know, through the interaction with each other, you know.
It's also interesting, like how much we're shaping, at least Paul. I don't know if it lands as hard on Vervaeke or Peugeot, because like Paul does it every day and he actually reads the comments, right? And so there's things like when he first started talking with Vervaeke, like the people who had gathered around him at the time were mostly like, whoa, this is like a Buddhist atheist, what, huh? And like as that, and so, and when the sub channels started getting the recognition, the shout outs or whatever, and the attention, like basically it was a loan of agency on Paul's part, particularly with me, because I'd made something that he thought was worthy of attention. And when that happened, it sort of becomes like, not only are you watching a buddy movie, but an ensemble series, like that one would binge. Like we're living all the parts that would be watched in that binge of the series. And it's like, so the internet has now made screen interfacing not the fourth wall. We're climbing up on the fourth wall. We're storming the gates of, like, it's going from one way to participatory, from like top down broadcast to like, we're all here, we're all playing now. And so I think as you watch their bond or them grow and change, you also are included. If you participate, you're included in the comment section. And like and Paul introduces you to characters that are the other way. It's weird what's happening, but I think it's not uncommon. I think it's happening probably in all sorts of little corners in different ways. But of course, ours is special for reasons. Where we're aiming. Ours is special for where we're aiming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
There's definitely something interesting going on with the interaction of human, the natural human tendency for community, right, with this unique technology in human history. It's almost ironic that the technology that so much of us blame for isolation, for isolating us, digital technologies, in this particular case is having this ironic effect of bringing people actually together. It's like a lot of the people at Chino were saying that there was no small talk going on because there was no need. You didn't need to know who someone was because you already knew who they were, because of their online profile, so I don't know. It's very interesting because people that are interested in spirituality are often Luddites, or tend that way. And so the idea that a technology that so many people I think that would be in the little corner community would be skeptical of, are actually using the technology in ways that you wouldn't expect. You know what I mean?
It's like, okay, I imagine like a church full of people from this town, and then you give everybody their cell phones, and they're going to go where they're interested in. And that's going to be like a diverse, wide range of things. But like 3 or 4 of those people might be at similar places. And now we have this super normal attention stimulus. Like the conversations I can get online are way better than I can get from my neighbor drinking and barbecuing next door. And so where our intellectual selves would rather be is now sort of a video game we can go into. And now we're to the point where, like, I don't know, why can't we all live in the same place now that we've found each other? Meanwhile, we get to exist here and have events and visit, and that's if the globe gets to the point of universal citizenship, then I think communities are going to form around these topics we're congregating. The things that bring us together online are inevitably going to manifest in physical locations, and these conventions that were prototyped by the comics people who love their comics so much, and the love of the worship, right? The time, attention, and potential spent on a thing makes it an anchor for, I don't know. We're in weird times, man, but I'm trying to figure it out as I go along. Back on topic though. So I'm getting these submissions, and I know you're already like getting like one-shot submissions from everybody. So when I give you what we have, I prefer to do it like in a really nice and convenient format, as if I were, you would have your assistant generate for you. So
thank you.
I'm thinking that like at minimum, you're gonna want the timeline of each of the clips. Like this was the first discussion with them. This was they've had 74 discussions together. Where in that? So, but other than that, what would you like to see from? Do they need to be longer than minute clips? What would you like most from the Reapers in this situation?
Well, basically, so the general format of the whole piece, you could say I have it in 4 acts. I'm looking for each of those 4. So I'll say that first. So anything associated with the meaning crisis, but I'm looking for the visceral sense of it, not the intellectual explanation of it. A sense of living in a time in human history that has this meaning crisis. We live in a world where we don't belong. A scientific worldview that says that you're just an insignificant speck. Something along those lines. That's the first. That for me, that's what I call ordinary world of the film. That's the background. That's the backdrop in which this, let's say, story takes place. Okay, so that's the first one. Then the second one is not belonging, some sense of not belonging. There's a lot of Paul Rando conversations where people express that. And again, I'm looking for the visceral feeling of it, the emotion of it, the sense of what that's like to live feeling like you don't belong. Either you don't have a spiritual home, or you don't belong to a community, or you don't fit in, or whatever that is, And then the third act would be the quest for whatever it is that you're missing, or whatever some, maybe a clue. I'm going to follow Jonathan Peugeot because it seems like this symbolism stuff must be somehow related to what I need, or what the answer might be, or something to this enigma. Or I'm going to follow, I'm going to watch a bunch of Vanderklay, videos, because I think maybe that, something along the lines of a quest. And then the final one is action, or embodiment, or I don't know, incarnation, or something like, what are you now doing about it? And the reason why I sort of chose that format is because almost every one of the confessions from the confession booth at Chino had that format naturally, without any prompting from me. And then I started to notice that the Rando's conversations with Paul often had that format as well, So that's kind of how I'm organizing the film. So anything that relates to those 4, I think, in terms of it might be just a tangential thing within a conversation, but I'm thinking so many people have watched so many of these things, they might think to their minds, oh, when in the middle of this conversation, which wasn't about that, here's what Justin's looking for. Here's a little clip about meaning crisis, or not belonging, or questing, let's say. So that's the one thing. And then there's the three figures that I think are recognizable by everybody, which are good, a good anchor points of which is, Paul, Jonathan, and John. What I'm looking for is how they changed from beginning to now, when you first encountered them online, to now what you see. So
look at what you've done to those 3 men with your attention and your watching of their stuff. Yeah, that's good.
So right now, and again, like I said, like something else might come to mind in terms of, oh, this might fit in, or that might fit in. Like I was saying about the discussion about death and what happens when someone from this little corner passes away. I think that's an important part, a little aspect that deserves a little bit of time, but that may bubble up later in my process. So for now, that's what I'm looking for. One of those 4 main things, but then out of the 3, how did they? What was their arc? How did they change? Over time. So I think that's where my attention is right now. In terms of what I'm actually like physically putting together on the timeline right at this moment. And yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, like anytime someone has sent me an email with a series of video clips and timestamps, it has made a good scene, So it's definitely, I haven't watched everything, so I don't know where all of the good moments are that are significant for.
That I thought you just meant when you haven't watched everything people have sent you. I don't know how flooded you are with that.
I'm not that flooded. But
we'll see what we can do about that.
But yeah, it's just kind of a thing also of like, it's your thislittlecorner.com has been super helpful, because when I watch through it, I generally sort of just get up in the morning and I just kind of watch through it on a little fast forward, to see how it's kind of coming together. And then I might stop it somewhere and say, okay, something's wrong here. What should it be? And then I can go to your This Little Corner and I can put in a key phrase or a key word, and I can watch some videos will come up, and that might cause me to think, oh, okay, this is what sort of I need to do to fix this part of the timeline or whatever it is. So all of your resources have been working well for me. It's just honestly, it's just a matter of, I had to resign myself to the fact that I'm going to just put in the hours every day if I want to make it if I want to make it watchable, if I want to make it actually worthwhile. And once I did that, I was able to kind of settle in for the last week or so into a sense of contentment in resigning myself to that task, and so I feel pretty good about it right now. Yeah.
I want to clarify that I didn't, while I pointed you to it, Ryan Lewis was the one who made this little-corner.com. And I believe he's begun neglecting it. If anybody else wants to make a newer, better one, now's your chance. But it is still functioning and goes through. I think it auto adds stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, because it had new stuff. Yeah.
We can't add new channels to it, I don't think, without bothering him, though. It's quite I think there's something, even if it's just like the way humanity is adapting to being these internet cyborgs. There's something happening here, and it's worth taking a look at. I think I'll break the Discord room out into those 4 categories, and we'll see what clips roll in from that. I can either just give you access or present them to you in a week or so, however you want to run it.
Whatever's easier for you. Yeah.
Okay, and so there's enough of this video that we make about how to do this. Thanks for helping, guys. Here's some obligatory branding type stuff. Remember.
This agency. We want